Listen, oh, listen. Let me tell you a story about Mama Chika, the woman the whole village called Mama Do Good. Sweet-tongued Mama Chika with a mouth so smooth, so sweet, it could make an empty pot sound like a feast fit for a king. When this woman opened her lips to sell you food, you would already be reaching for your money before your own tongue had tasted a single spoon. But by the time I finish this story, you will understand why so many people who ate from her store for years never truly knew what was sitting inside her pot. But wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning.
In Azuka village, market days were sweet occasions. Every 5 days, traders would gather at the big square under the old Odara tree, spreading their wares: tomatoes, pepper, dried fish, wrappers, and of course, food. Because, my people, nobody wants to cook when they are busy buying and selling. So the food sellers at the square were just as important as the tomato sellers and the cloth sellers. And among all the food sellers, one woman's stall always had the longest line. Her name was Mama Chika, but nobody called her that anymore. Everybody, and I mean everybody, called her Mama Do Good. Why did they call her Mama Do Good? Because that was her favorite saying. Any small thing you complain about, she will hold your hand, look into your eyes with love and say, "My dear, don't worry. Mama will do good for you. Mama always does good." She said it so often with so much sweetness that the name simply stuck to her like honey on finger. Now, my people, let me be honest with you. Mama Do Good's food was not bad food. Nobody ever fell sick from it, thank God. But it was not good food either. If you want plain truth, her soup tasted like water that once heard about pepper, went to greet it and turned back home without collecting any. Her jollof rice looked exactly like jollof rice, red and shiny and correct. But the moment it touched your tongue would ask your brain, "Excuse me, is this the food we were promised or just the picture of it?" Her stew had oil floating on top, red and inviting. But underneath that fine red oil, there was very small seasoning, very small pepper, very small everything, like the seasoning entered the pot, took one look around and left quietly through the back door.
But you see, my people, Mama Chika discovered something powerful very early in her business. She discovered that people do not only eat with their mouth. People eat with their ears too. And people eat with their eyes. And if you talk sweet enough, people will convince themselves that bad food is good food, simply because their ears already signed the agreement before their tongue could even read the fine print. So Mama Do Good built her whole business not on cooking, but on talking. She was the sweetest talker in the whole village. When you approached her store, she would clap her hands together and shout, see who has come. The person I have been waiting for since morning. Come, sit down. Today is your lucky day." Before you even sit well, she would already be describing the soup like a poet describing his own wife. "This soup, my dear, I put special ingredient inside. Very special. The kind of ingredient that will make your husband love you more. The kind of ingredient that will make you dream sweet dreams tonight." Nobody knew what this special ingredient was because there was no special ingredient. But the words alone made people's mouths start watering before the food even touched their tongue. Now, let me tell you about two of her regular customers, because these two will show you exactly how far Mama Do Good's sweet mouth could carry her. First, there was Baba Pius, a very slim man, thin like a broom handle, the kind of man that when he stood sideways in the sun, you could hardly see his shadow. Every market day, Baba Pius would come to buy just one small plate of rice because that was all his pocket could manage. But Mama Do Good would receive him like he was a chief. "Baba Pius, is that you? See how you are shining, see how your body is filling up," she would exclaim, clapping her hands together in pretend shock. Baba Pius, who had not added a single pound since the day he was born, would straighten his shoulders proudly. "You can see it too. My wife has been saying the same thing. She said my trousers are getting tight." "Tight? Baba Pius, soon your trousers will refuse to close. All this good eating from my store, see how your cheek has rounded up a little." Mama Do-Good would pinch his cheek, which had no extra flesh to pinch at all, and Baba Pius would beam with pride, convinced that one small plate of rice eaten once every 5 days was slowly transforming him into a big man. Every single market day, this same performance repeated itself, and every single market day, Baba Pius bought a slightly bigger plate than the last, determined to keep filling up, even though his belt still sat on the very last hole it had always sat on. His wife, meanwhile, could not understand why her husband kept insisting his trousers were tight when she could still see his ribs clearly through his shirt. Then there was Mama Ronke, a woman built solid and strong, the kind of woman whose wrapper strained a little at the waist, no matter how she tied it. Mama Ronke worried constantly about her weight, always talking about how she wanted to reduce, how she wanted to fit back into the blouse she wore at her daughter's naming ceremony 10 years ago. Mama Do-Good, sensing an opportunity, took one look at Mama Ronke's plate of rice and stew and declared, "Mama Ronke, see how your body is reducing. You are shrinking before my very eyes." Mama Ronke's face lit up like a lantern. "Really? You can see it? I have been eating a little less, exercising in the morning." "I can see it clearly. In fact, is it my soup you have been eating? Because this particular soup, my dear, has a way of melting fat away while it feeds you. It is very rare, very special ingredient." From that day forward, Mama Ronke became one of Mama Do-Good's most loyal customers, convinced that the very soup filling her belly was somehow shrinking it at the same time. She would eat a full plate, sometimes ask for extra meat, and walk away patting her stomach happily, certain that Mama Do-Good's soup was doing something no gym in the city could ever do. Meanwhile, her wrapper kept straining a little more at the waist with each passing market day, though nobody, least of all Mama Ronke, dared to connect the two. And Mama Do-Good had helpers in this sweet-talking business too. Her main assistant was a young girl called Sisi Bimpe, quick-mouthed and always smiling, who had learnt all her master's tricks. And there was a certain man, Baba Success, a regular at the square, whom Mama Do-Good paid small money every market day to sit at her stall, eat loudly and praise the food to the high heavens for everyone to hear. Mama Do-Good, this soup of yours," Baba Success would groan loudly, smacking his lips, closing his eyes like the food had personally carried him to heaven and back. "If I had not married before, I would marry you today just because of this soup." And the other customers standing in line, watching him perform like a man possessed, would think to themselves, "This soup must be very sweet. See how the man is enjoying it." They did not know that Baba Success was simply a paid actor doing overtime, the same way Mama Do-Good paid him 50 naira and one plate of rice every market day for his trouble. But the real secret, my people, the deepest secret of Mama Do-Good's business was something even more clever than sweet talk and paid praise. It was what she called in her own mind the sample pot. You see, Mama Do-Good kept 2 pots of soup at her stall every single day. The first pot, small, sitting right in front where customers could see it, contained soup that she had cooked with real seasoning, real pepper, real crayfish, real everything. This was the sample pot. If a new customer, someone she had never met before, came to her store looking doubtful, unsure whether to buy, Mama Do-Good would take a small spoon from this special pot and say, "Taste it first, my dear. Taste it before you pay anything." Mama Do-Good does not force anybody. And the customer would taste this small, sweet, well-seasoned sample and their face would light up like Christmas morning. "This one is sweet," they would say. "I told you now, Mama always do good," she would reply, already reaching for a plate. But here is the trick, my people, and this one is pure wickedness with sweet smell. The plate she filled for the actual sale, the big plate the customer would carry home and chop, did not come from that small sample pot at all. No, no, no. It came from the second pot, the big one at the back, hiding behind buckets and firewood like a criminal avoiding police. The one with much less seasoning, much less pepper, much less everything. Sisi Bimpe's whole job, in fact, was to distract the customer at exactly that moment, while Mama Dugu's hand quietly traveled from the sweet sample pot to the plain, tasteless bulk pot, faster than a lizard running from rain. Ah, see this beautiful wrapper on that woman there, Sisi Bimpe would suddenly exclaim, pointing across the square, and while the customer's head turned to look, Mama Dugu's spoon was already deep inside the second pot, filling the plate that would soon be handed over. By the time the customer turned around, plate in hand, the sweet taste from the small sample was still fresh in their mouth, still lingering on their tongue, and so even though the food they carried home tasted very different from the sample, most people never noticed the difference until it was too late, and by then they had already paid, already thanked Mama Do Good, already told their neighbor, "That woman's soup is sweet, you should try it."
This was how Mama Do Good built her reputation, market day after market day, month after month, year after year. Sweet talk at the front, paid praise from Baba Success circling the stall, a small sample pot with real flavor, a big bulk pot with almost no flavor, and a quick-mouthed assistant to distract eyes at exactly the right moment. It was not stealing money, nobody was cheating anybody of their naira in terms of quantity, but it was a different kind of cheating altogether. Cheating people's tongues, cheating their expectations, selling water dressed up as soup, using nothing but sweet, sweet words. And it worked, my people. It worked so well that Mama Do Good became the most talked about food seller in 3 villages. People traveled from Amawam and even from Ndiaguru just to buy from her store. Her small business grew so big that she employed 2 more girls to help with serving. She built an extension to her house with the profit. Her children wore the finest clothes to church every Sunday. Life was sweet for Mama Do Good, sweeter even than her soup pretended to be. But my people, as we always say in this village, water that refuses to stop flowing will eventually meet a stone. And Mama Do Good's stone arrived on a Sunday afternoon in the shape of a woman called Aunty Karima. Now, who was Aunty Karima? She was not from Azuka originally. She had married into the village some years back, but she had spent many years working in the city before that, in a big restaurant, testing and correcting other people's cooking for a living. Aunty Karima's tongue, my people, was famous in her own right. She could taste 1 spoon of soup and tell you exactly what was missing. 2 little crayfish, no locust beans, pepper that was added too late, salt that forgot to enter at all. Her neighbors used to joke, Aunty Karima's tongue is like a court judge. It will judge your food and there is no appeal. Aunty Karima had heard about Mama Do Good's famous soup many times. Everybody around her kept saying, you have not tasted real soup until you taste Mama Do Good soup. But Aunty Karima, being a woman who trusted her own tongue more than other people's mouths, had never gone to check for herself until that particular Sunday when her cousin insisted, "Karima, please, today let us go and buy from Mama Do Good. I want you to see why everybody praises her." So Aunty Karima agreed, and together they walked to the village square. As they approached the stall, Mama Do Good, sensing a new face, sprang immediately into action. Welcome, welcome, my dear. See this fine woman like a Christmas package. Come, sit down. Today is your lucky day. Aunty Karima simply nodded politely, watching quietly, her eyes moving around the stall, studying everything the way she used to study kitchens back in the city. She saw Baba Success sitting nearby, groaning with exaggerated pleasure over his plate. She saw Baba Pius standing proudly to one side, patting his flat stomach like it had grown overnight. She saw the crowd of customers all smiling, all nodding, all agreeing that the food was sweet.
But Auntie Karima's eyes, sharp from years of professional tasting, noticed something else too. She noticed the small pot at the front and the bigger pot slightly behind it, half hidden by a bucket of water. She noticed how Mama Dugu's hand moved when Sisi Bimpe suddenly called out, "Ah, see that man's bicycle, almost knocking somebody," pointing at nothing much at all. Auntie Karima did not turn her head to look at the bicycle. Her eyes stayed exactly where they were, on Mama Dugu's hand, which had quietly dipped into the second pot. Auntie Karima said nothing yet. She simply waited for her plate. When the plate arrived, full of soup and swallow, Mama Dugu smiled her biggest smile and said, "Enjoy it, my dear. Mama always does good." Auntie Karima did not rush to eat. She looked at the soup carefully first, the way a market inspector looks at a suspicious sack of rice. Then she picked up her spoon, scooped a small amount, and put it in her mouth slowly. She chewed once, she chewed twice. Her eyebrows moved upward slowly like two caterpillars climbing a leaf. Then, my people, Auntie Karima did something that nobody at that stall had ever dared to do before. She did not smile politely and swallow her disappointment quietly like every other customer had done for years. She did not tell herself, "Maybe today the pepper is just weak. Maybe I am the problem, not the soup." No. Auntie Karima dropped her spoon back into the plate, loud enough for people 3 stalls away to hear the clatter, and she shouted for the whole square to hear, "Kai, no taste. This soup no get taste at all at all." The whole square went silent. Baba Success stopped chewing mid-groan, his mouth still open, food still inside. Sisi Bimpe froze where she stood, her hand still pointing at absolutely nothing. And Mama Dugu's sweet smile disappeared from her face like sun disappearing behind sudden rain cloud. Madam, what did you say?" Mama Dugu asked, trying to laugh it off, though her voice was already shaking a little. "I said this soup has no taste," Auntie Karima repeated, calmly this time, standing straight up. "No pepper, no crayfish, no proper seasoning at all. Somebody tell me, is this the same food everybody has been praising for years?" The customers standing nearby began to murmur among themselves, exchanging uncertain glances. A few of them looked down at their own plates, suddenly examining their food with new eyes, the way a person examines a shirt after somebody points out a stain they had not noticed before. Mama Dugu, quick thinking as always, tried her old trick. "Madam, maybe your tongue is not used to village pepper, that is all. City people, sometimes their tongue has spoiled from all this fancy restaurant food. Village soup is different. It is more subtle." But Auntie Karima was not the kind of woman whose tongue could be insulted into silence. Subtle, my sister, means the taste is quiet, not that the taste is absent completely. There is a big difference between soup that whispers and soup that says nothing at all. This one is saying nothing at all. A few people in the crowd began to laugh quietly, covering their mouths. Somebody at the back muttered, "She is right though. This time the soup does taste like ordinary hot water."
Mama Dugu felt sweat gathering on her forehead. She turned to Baba Success, hoping for backup. "Baba Success, tell them how the soup always sweets you." Baba Success, caught between his loyalty to his 50 naira payment and the sudden fear of being exposed in front of the whole village, mumbles weakly, Well, sometimes it is sweet, sometimes a little salt is missing." His voice trailed off into nothing, and everyone could tell that his heart was no longer in his performance. Auntie Karima, sensing that something bigger was happening here than one bad pot of soup, decided she was not finished yet. "Let me ask everybody something," she announced loudly, turning to face the whole gathered crowd. "How many of you, before you buy from this stall, first taste from a small pot in front before your plate is served from a different pot at the back?" Silence again. Then slowly, hands began to rise. One customer, then another, then 3 more. Then, my people, almost every single person standing there raised their hand, looking at each other in confusion, as if realizing for the first time that this same thing had happened to all of them, separately, on separate market days, and none of them had ever compared notes with each other.
And how many of you, Auntie Karima continued, noticed that while you were tasting that small sweet sample, somebody was calling your attention to something else, a bicycle, a fine wrapper, a masquerade passing, anything at all, right before your real plate was filled? More murmuring, more uncomfortable shifting. An old woman near the front gasped, "Ah, so that's how she does it. I always wondered why my eyes kept turning away whenever she was serving me." Mama Do-Good's legs felt weak beneath her. She tried one more time. "My people, I don't know what this woman is talking about. Maybe today, small mistake happened for the kitchen, that's all. Just today. Every other day, the food is perfect, exactly like the sample, I swear." Tin. "Then let us test that," Auntie Karima interrupted, walking straight past Mama Do-Good and pulling back the bucket that hid the second pot. She lifted the lid and steam rose up, carrying with it a smell that was, my people, let us be honest, quite plain, quite ordinary, nothing special at all. "Everybody come and taste from this pot," Auntie Karima called. "The same pot she has been serving your plates from all this time. Let us all taste together, right here, right now." Now, my people, this is where the real drama began, because up until this point, everybody had been tasting alone, one customer at a time, at different moments, never comparing their experience with their neighbor's experience. Nobody had ever stood shoulder to shoulder with 10 other customers, tasting from the same pot at the same moment with nowhere to hide. One by one, spoons went into the pot. One by one, faces changed. The old woman who had been coming to Mama Do-Good's stall every single market day for 6 years tasted, chewed, and said quietly, almost sadly, "God forgive me, but this one truly has no taste." Baba Pius tasted, chewed slowly, and looked down at his own flat stomach in confusion, as if suddenly wondering how this plain rice like this had ever convinced him he was filling up. Mama Ronke tasted too, and for the first time looked genuinely troubled, patting her waist as though checking whether the fat-melting powers she believed in had ever truly existed. Sisi Bimpi, seeing the whole scheme collapsing before her, tried to slip quietly away from the stall, but Auntie Karima's cousin caught her arm gently. Sisi, where are you rushing to? Stay and watch with the rest of us." Mama Do-Good stood there in the middle of her own stall, surrounded by customers who had loved her for years, now all discovering the same uncomfortable truth at the exact same moment. Her sweet talk, which had worked so beautifully one customer at a time, could not work on a crowd of 10 people, all tasting the same disappointing spoon together. Sweet words, my people, can convince one lonely tongue, but they cannot argue with 10 tongues agreeing with each other in the same breath. "So, all this time," one customer said slowly, almost to herself, "I have been paying good money, telling my neighbors to come and buy, praising this woman's name up and down because of one small taste at the front, when the real food I carried home was nothing like that taste at all?" "And Baba Success," another customer added, turning to look at him with new understanding. "All this groaning and moaning, all this, 'If I had not married before, I would marry you today because of this soup,' you were being paid to say all that?" Baba Success, no longer able to hide, hung his head. "Mama Do-Good, please forgive me, but I cannot lie for you anymore today. Yes, she pays me 50 naira and 1 plate of rice every market day to praise the food loudly for people to hear." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some people laughed bitterly. Baba Pius, still staring at his stomach, muttered under his breath, "So this is the same rice she has been telling me is filling me up? Look at me now. I am still a broom handle." And a few people nearby burst out laughing despite the tension. Mama Ronke folded her arms and shook her head slowly. "And here I am telling my husband that Mama's soup is helping me reduce. Mama Do-Good, you have used me to advertise for nothing." Mama Do-Good tried one final defense, her voice now pleading rather than confident. "My people, please, I beg you, don't destroy my business like this. Yes, maybe I exaggerate a little when I talk, but is that not what every seller does? Every seller in this market calls their tomatoes the freshest, calls their fish the sweetest, calls their pepper the hottest. Am I the only one who talks sweet to sell my goods?" Auntie Karima, standing calmly amid the chaos she had caused, answered her directly and clearly in a voice that carried across the whole square. My sister, there is nothing wrong with sweet talk. Nothing wrong with telling your customer, come and enjoy. Today is your lucky day. Every trader does that and there is no sin in it. But sweet talk should invite people to a truth, not replace the truth. When your mouth promises sweetness that your pot cannot deliver, when you show one pot and serve from another, when you pay a man to lie with his mouth full so that other people's mouths will follow blindly, and when you tell a thin man he is growing fat and a big woman she is shrinking small, also they keep coming back to buy, that is no longer selling, that is deceiving. There is a big difference between decorating your soup with sweet words and using sweet words to hide that there is no soup worth eating underneath. The whole square was quiet for a moment, letting those words settle. So, what do we do now? Someone asked. Should we report her? Should we boycott her stall forever?
Auntie Karima shook her head. No, that is too harsh, and it will only push her into hiding her tricks better next time, somewhere else, on some other unsuspecting village. Instead, I have a better idea. Mama do good. If you are truly willing to do good, as your name suggests, then prove it. Not with your mouth this time, but with your pot. From today, one pot only. No sample pot hidden in front, no bug pot hidden at the back. Whatever you give people to taste is exactly what they will carry home in their plate. And no more paying Baba Success or anybody else to sing false praises. And no more telling Baba Pious he's fat or Mama Ronke she's thin just to keep them buying. Let your food speak for itself in its own true voice, and let us see if people still come. Mama Do-Good stood there, humiliated in front of the entire village square, but she also understood deep down that Auntie Karima was offering her something valuable, a chance to rebuild, not a punishment to destroy her completely. Slowly, she nodded. Okay, I hear you. One pot, real seasoning, real pepper, real everything, the same for everybody. No more tricks and no more nonsense compliments. That very day, my people, right there in the square, with everybody still watching, Mama Do-Good emptied both pots into one large pot, added fresh pepper, added proper crayfish, added the seasoning that her sample pot alone used to enjoy, and began cooking it all over again from scratch, honestly, in front of everyone. Sisi Bimpe, no longer needed for distraction duty, stood by awkwardly with nothing left to point at until an old man took pity on her and said, Sisi, if you like, go and shout about a real bicycle. At least make yourself useful today. And the whole crowd burst into laughter. It took time for her reputation to recover, my people, but the comedy did not stop that day. It only just started. Baba Pious went home and for the first time in his married life stood on the small bathroom scale his wife used to weigh Gari for sale. He stood there for almost 1 full minute, waiting, shaking the scale, tapping it with his foot, convinced it must be spoiling. Baba Pious, what are you looking for on that scale? His wife asked from the doorway, arms folded. I am checking my new weight. Mama Do-Good said I am filling up. His wife laughed so hard she had to hold the door frame. Baba Pious, that scale is still showing the same number you have carried since our wedding day. Come on, remove your slippers. Maybe the slippers are heavy. He removed his slippers. The number did not move 1 gram. From that day, whenever Baba Pious entered the square, somebody would shout, broom handle, how far? Have you filled up today? And he would laugh along with everybody else. Though sometimes he would still look down on his own stomach, just to be sure. Mama Ronke, for her part, joined a small morning exercise group with 2 other women from the square, all 3 of them jogging around the Udara tree at dawn in wrappers tied so tight you would think they were preparing for war, not exercise. On the very first morning, Mama Ronke ran exactly 1 round, sat down under the tree and announced loudly, my people, I have reduced enough for today, while her 2 friends were still on their second lap. She still bought Mama Do-Good's food afterwards, now honestly, and enjoyed it just as much, if not more, though she made sure to remind everyone within earshot that she had exercised first, even if that exercise was 1 round and a long rest.
Baba Success, ashamed of his role in the whole affair, stopped coming around the square for a long while. But when he finally returned, something in him had changed. He no longer groaned for money. Now, he only groaned when the food truly deserved it. And because he had spent so many years perfecting his performance, his honest reactions became even more dramatic than his paid ones. He would taste a spoon of real, well-seasoned soup, freeze completely, place a hand flat on his chest, and announce to the whole square, "As God is my witness, this one is sweet for free. Nobody paid me 1 kobo to say so." And people would laugh and shout back, "We hear you, Baba Success. Sit down and finish your food." But slowly, market day after market day, something funny began to happen. Mama Do-Good's food, cooked honestly now, with no more secret second pot, started tasting good every single time for every single customer. No more up and down, no more sweet sample here, plain food there. And because the taste stopped changing like weather, customers who tried her food once began coming back on their own, telling their neighbors straight, "Try 'em, the taste is real now. I tasted it myself." No long story. Auntie Karima became something of a legend in Azuka after that Sunday. The younger girls at the square even gave her a title, half joking, half serious, Madam Inspector General of Taste. Whenever a new seller set up a store, promising sweet, sweet things with their mouth, villagers would say, laughing, "Make we call Madam Inspector General, come taste them first before we believe anything." Some sellers, hearing this, started sweating even before Auntie Karima came near their store, adjusting their pot nervously like students who had not read for an exam. As for Mama Do-Good, she kept her nickname, but slowly the meaning behind it began to change. People stopped saying it with suspicion in their voice and mockery in their eyes. Instead, when they said Mama Do-Good, they simply meant a woman whose food at last matched her name. Even Baba Pius, still exactly as slim as the day he was born, would tell newcomers at the square, "Her soup will not make you fat, my friend, but I swear it is sweet."
If this story blessed you today and made you laugh even one time, drop a comment and tell us, has Auntie Karima ever appeared in your own life? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories from the village square. See you in our next story. Bye!